eventually turn up. YouTube thinks we're good. We'll start on that streaming. And let's go, my mates. It's Darrell as a service 365 Mesa Center. Seems like only yesterday we were doing a live stream, doesn't it? Well, it'll reflect in the number of announcements. We won't even announce them because there's so few. But we do have some other things to show you. Let's roll the intro. Yes, good now to you. Darrell is a service and my buddy...
Daniel Glenn.
Just Daniel Glenn. And is there anything special happening in Nashville today?
Today, well, my cup reminds me that I am from the Nashville, Tennessee area, home of arguably the worst American football professional team there is.
This season? Or, I mean, have they been...
We're still in preseason. We're still preseason, and they're terrible.
They're early to call then, isn't it? Surely.
It is. It's a bit early, but the writing's on the wall. Now, whether they want to go up there and clean it up, the writing, and write a different story on the wall, that'd be great. But for right now, yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. I am not a die-hard fan of the local team, but I'm not a fan of any other team more so. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of my default pro-American football team. Yep. And it's just the way it goes. But, yeah, we're terrible.
Yeah, well, we could wait for one of those amazing American sports movie endings where the underdog goes from being a terrible team and the coach gives them a great talk and, then they're in the finals and, yeah, maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe?
No, yesterday they were talking about one of the top-tier quarterbacks in the league suddenly announced his retirement right before the season was going to start. And... he plays for the team they're called the Colts, and our coach was asked, well, will it finally be the year that we could actually beat them since their star quarterback is not going to be playing? So that's all we have to hope for, is that their team stinks more than our team. Anyway.
Onto other things. Sports is good. Work is our living. But community is where we're at in terms of helping you out to understand the Message Centre. And like I said, it's only a few days ago. Hey, thanks to everyone who's joined us from the chat room. Mm-hmm. Phil, Joanne, Suzanne, and others that are usually a little quiet till something controversial is mentioned.
Ooh, let's say some controversial stuff. That'd be great. Okay. I've got quite a few, actually.
Yeah, you're good. Well, I'm sure, but you're holding back, right? Well, as a quick overview here, we've got 3 messages since, when was it? Thursday your time?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And there's a curly one to start off with. Let's take a look at the updated feature for advanced threat protection, which is a good feature to make use of. In fact, probably if you have it as part of your subscription, one of the core features or basic features there is it's testing your attachments and links through to things.
Right.
I like that. But we actually see this in action as part of this update. Now, I don't go into any of the advanced features, but I know that you can basically follow through and see where these certain attacks might be coming from, or it will check to see where you're accessing your email, and if it's from a strange country that was only 5 minutes ago from where you actually are, then you get all sorts of weird stuff going on there. So the announcement today is about automated investigation and response, because we can't investigate everything
Right.
Be good to have
And
it automated.
yeah, well, yes. Well, I think today's announcement really is about being able to do more with the data that you're getting from Microsoft, and having the ability to do your own thing with the alerts through the API. So if you're doing some development or have done some development to render some of the information into your own systems, for instance, through the API, then you're just getting more information handed to you by Office 365 ATP, and being able to use that information in your desired way to handle it. If you just go through the browser and go into the center itself, then that's not what this is about, right? This is just providing more data through the API.
I think, for those of us who probably don't use it as often, is a good example here. It's an image in the announcement that shows a bit about how it goes about and investigates it and interrogates that link. And when it identifies it as a threat, this is the sort of information that you're able to take and put into your own systems and action that. So where it's automated, you're going to be passing it off to someone if it needs to be further investigated. Messaging needs to be sent out about this new phishing attempt that appears to be coming from our CEO.
Right.
So, yeah. But it's, look, going back to the message itself, though, it feels like one of those ones which is in a lot of detail, and I don't know if it's saying, hey, look, we've got this new feature, and it's sort of a marketing thing, or is it super important?
Well, I feel like, back when I was young, back when we started this show, when you started the show, and even when I came on,
Whoa, hang on. You said back when you were young when we started the show. Does it really feel like you're that old now?
No,
because of the show?
Yeah, I'm a little more grayer, but the messages were all text. They were typically very short and didn't have a lot of links in them, right? It was, here's the information, maybe a link to the roadmap, and good on you if you can find more information. And, we've had better quality posts with the additional information links. We've had the addition of blog post links, right, and as well as the additional information. We've gotten a lot of, they've been pretty consistent about providing links to the roadmap ID, as well as other information, and now they're adding multimedia, right? So adding some images to try to clarify. Now, I hear what you're saying about the marketing. I feel like this is okay, especially when it may be something that you don't fully understand and you want to kind of get a feel for it, right? It's what is this and what can I do with this? And so including image and a little bit of note about what this actually is not a bad thing, I think.
Yeah.
However, if it does become another marketing tool, right, for you should have this feature, that's when I think it crosses the line. I'm not saying this one does. I'm just saying if it did in the future, because this is supposed to be about our Microsoft 365 tenant, and is not supposed to be about everything that's out there and telling me about everything. It's supposed to be what's in my tenant, or things that kind of would affect me globally. Anyway, so that's my feelings on the subject.
I guess from a telemetry standpoint, if you are using the service, then this would be a good one that it detects and says, I see that you're using some of the more advanced features of advanced threat protection. Have you noticed here that you'd be able to use our API and take this information and put it in your systems here? It's along those lines. I'd be dropping this message in. Look, as a measurements, I guess neither of us work that deeply in this area, and is the message useful to us? Maybe it's getting me a little interested in, like, could I implement this and have a look at what benefit it might be to my organization. Yeah,
Yeah,
could do.
so I mean, I think so. If you look at that second paragraph under how does this affect me, I mean, it gives you an example of, why you might feel this is important and an example of what this will do,
Hmm.
right? It's when a status of an investigation changes, it's going to send out a update via the API, and you be able to consume that data through the API for investigation. And so if you're handling, maybe you've got a third party system or maybe you've built one that can consume that API, the information through that API in conjunction maybe with your hardware security concern, it, it could be very helpful for those that are using it. I
Hmm.
feel, this is one of those that it's like, this is not targeted toward my tenant because I'm not using the API.
Hmm.
So this is not targeted to those that are using it, and therefore this is being updated and you get more stuff. Um, so you're right. I think it's kind of like, but I do believe that this one's in my book, Darrell. If maybe we should start a tally. Um, we should put on our website a tally for what we're going to consider. Was this valuable or not? Um, you
Ooh.
know, well, because when I'm presenting, I was in Seattle this past week, and I was presenting at SharePoint Fest, and every one of my sessions and during my workshop, I talked about, the show. I just mentioned it, and my kind of spiel for the show, my overview is, that we take a look at what's in the message center, what's coming to your tenant, and we tell you if the messages are important or not, and what's missing. It's kind of my
Hmm.
synopsis.
Okay. Yeah.
And um, so I feel like, this is not us reading the text. This is, and you feel the same way, right? That
Yeah.
this is not
It's
us reading the
interpreting
text.
it.
It's us
Hmm.
interpreting and flavoring it and what we experience and trying to help the community. Well, um, we can maybe start taking votes. I'm just joking on that. We're not going to do that, but
Of course you are.
um,
Yeah.
but this one, I feel like it's okay, except
Yeah.
it's not targeted, but okay, we can get over that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it takes me pretty deep into something that
Yeah,
I'm not using, and
right.
even further, I might be using APIs, I might not be.
Hmm.
I think of other teams that I'd been a member of where they were using I think it's Nagios as a open source events system, bringing it
Okay.
all across all the different devices and network things and firewalls.
Hmm.
So it's all bringing it into one dashboard. That's where this would be useful because cloud is actually only a part of what IT teams have to look after. It's
Hmm.
might be a bigger part these days, but they
Right.
do have to bring everything else together from the other systems that they manage. Anyway,
Correct.
we've done this one to the max.
You
I
think we've
was thinking
covered
of
it very well, huh?
an as well as we can when we're not
Right.
experts in this. This one,
Hmm.
use templates to create Microsoft 365, create users in the admin center.
Right. Yes, and I wish this existed right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've been doing some work, some volunteer work with a nonprofit here locally, and helping them with um, getting started with Office 365. And really, it's more of working in it. Helping them with getting emails structured, getting OneDrive going. Actually, was a big
Hmm.
one, part of the project. And kind of the last thing is giving them the information on creating and also removing users from their environment. Just kind of
Mm.
a what are the steps that we should go through, making sure we get all the boxes checked. So this would be perfect for creating users to have a template of, if they have internal users, they've got users that are temporary, seasonal work, they've got et cetera. So this would be, I think, a good thing for them.
Mm. I think back to days where we would copy a user template from Active Directory on prem, and it would have
Yeah.
membership of all the different groups that you should be part of.
Hmm.
But it goes deeper with Microsoft 365 because you can be a role within
Yeah.
the tenant itself. Now we've
That's
got a
right.
lot of roles. It's not just a tenant admin and something else.
Right.
Yeah, you can be assigned all of those sorts of things. Is it useful for those who are still using or who are using the Active Directory sync or whatever that version is
Oh,
called
yeah.
now?
So like a hybrid with AD on-prem.
Yeah, a lot of orgs are still mastering it from on-prem and then syncing it
Sure.
up. So yeah, I mean
you could get into it.
Yeah.
You can where you like you were mentioning different roles.
Mm.
Because even when I'm working with organizations that have AD on-prem, if I'm just doing work in the cloud for them, maybe rolling out their intranet or helping them with OneDrive or helping them understand and integrate teams within their organization, they often will just create me a user in the cloud. They won't even create a user on-prem. So the ability to still, I mean, you can still use this, maybe not as much as those who are managing their AD in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, but I think it's still useful. So this is two things about this I want to mention. It's rolling out to customers in early September, which 1 week away from early September, and then the rollout will be completed worldwide by the end of November. And they updated this today to put a note that this does not apply to customers in GCC High or DoD.
Okay.
And I think that's interesting. And it was actually noted on the one we were just talking about before that it does not apply. The availability of that AIR investigation data in the API is not available in GCC as well. I think this is important. I think they need to start doing this a whole lot more. And we've seen this a little bit, but it would be nice to actually do the reverse. I think if they could do it consistently, is to tell us when it does apply to GCC. Because government cloud, for those that don't know what GCC is, because there's I feel like there's a lot of things that are put in the message center that they don't mention that it's not part of the GCC, but and they don't say that, but it isn't. And so customers in the government cloud are left wondering, is this part of my tenant? Should I be paying attention to it, et cetera? Anyway.
I think the general rule is that things do take longer to get to GCC because they've got to go through some more rigor. Thinking about some people that work in that space, and they're often saying, "Oh no, we're looking at all the things that are arriving in our tenant and others' tenants, and we're seeing blog posts and things." Actually, a quick shout out to Sarah Gilbert on the tech community, and she helps manage the GCC and public sector section of the tech community. So they're definitely trying to bolster conversation around there, where GCC might receive something like this 6-9 months from now. And the thing is that they get to benefit from all the learnings that we've had because we've had it for 6 to 9 months.
They do, but they also get it's a pro and con thing. Of they go to conferences and they listen to our podcast, of course, and they watch and they go to other things, and they're told about these wonderful features, and they lag far behind, months behind. And so it's really difficult for them to understand what is what and is it available or not.
Yeah.
Things, and even when you get into services, things like Flow, for instance, there's a lot of questions about Microsoft Flow this past week, and and the question always was followed up, not always, frequently it was followed up with, is this available in GCC? And so, we talk about all these wonderful features in the different services, and then it's like, oh, but it's not available yet, and we have no idea when it would be available. It's almost as if they'll forget about it before it is available. Anyway.
And if we're going back to that principle that we won't hear about it arriving in our tenants unless it's specific to us, these sorts of messages that will come through saying it's now available in GCC really won't or shouldn't hit our tenant, should they? They should be arriving in a GCC tenant.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, there's a good question here from Joanne. Is GCC only applicable to the US? There is government sector tenants, and I'm thinking of Australasia, where they are in a different section of the data center and kind of come across the same pace of delivery and rules. So, while it is a US TLA, GCC, three-letter acronym, the principle is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
Good. How about we move on to our last one? And there is more than just these messages. We do have something else we want to walk through and show you.
I do want to talk about, just want to take a pause here and let everyone know that I am lodging a complaint. This has bugged me for quite a while. And for those of you that will be listening to this podcast via audio some way, somehow, you may not know this, but on the screen during the show, every once in a while we see listed our names and our Twitter handles. And for some reason, Darrell has capitalized his letters in his Twitter name, but not in mine. And I feel like this is a slight toward me. He's making me feel lower because I'm a lowercase, with my letters.
Buddy, hang on, let me check something there.
I'm pretty deep.
Yeah, just it's all right. Let me just check on something here. How do you present yours on Twitter?
Oh, you shouldn't do this. You're going to get in trouble.
Am I?
Yeah, because I do it capital.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me just take your word for it. Okay. All right.
I love you, man.
You too, buddy. I'll fix that immediately after the show. Yeah.
It's a joke, people. It's a joke.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke. But in seriousness, maybe the capitalization is a mechanism you use to show that you are the genuine, the real Daniel Glenn, which will help fight against phishing. Right?
I like it.
I'm trying to make a real weak link.
Bringing it on back. Bring it on back
and,
to the message center. I like it.
Phishing in Microsoft Forms. Yeah. Okay. Well, we have Microsoft Forms, and wouldn't you know it, some people are already using it for phishing. Certainly on the public side.
Yes.
And this message is about also trying to button down it internally, making sure that forms are not being maliciously used to glean information that people shouldn't have.
Well, I would hope this isn't. So this is automatic phishing detection in Microsoft Forms for enterprise in-org forms.
Yes,
in-org. In-org hyphen. So it says action required by September 23rd. This is one of our action requireds. And the action is that you will see the new toggle, and you can disable it if you need it, but they're going to turn it on by default. It's called the internal phishing protection toggle. So I'm a little confused. Not confused, but is this really a big deal? I mean, I would think it is a little bit of a deal, but hopefully internal people won't be phishing, right? Because you can track exactly who's doing it.
Yeah.
So is this more of an accidental phishing? Like if you ask a question, hey, enter your credit card numbers or
social security. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Home
address,
I
didn't really.
Phone number. Yeah. Your favorite food, when you prefer to have dates. I don't know if Microsoft Forms has been used as some Huckleberry Tinder form internally.
Whoa.
Yeah, okay. I took that into a completely different direction. But you consider that phishing too. We're phishing for
I agree.
Phishing for dates.
Well, and I think it's actually a pretty common phishing scheme that most people don't realize that they are participating in. Is we've all seen it on social media, especially the faces books. is, these forms of here, reply to this with all these answers. And people
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that all of those answers are not all of them, but a lot of them are common security questions. And you're effectively giving away all of your answers to those security questions. And so it actually is it's kind of a phishing attempt to try to get
Yeah.
information from you. And so people are very, frequently, yeah, I'll fill it out. Sure, this is fun. And then, I guess maybe putting it on forms too would be bad. But
Well,
um,
forms have this level of authenticity, especially if they're internal, because to me it's another document, and look, it is coming from internal, so there is that
yeah,
element of trust. Maybe your spidey senses are lowered a little, and you're not detecting any. Oh, what's going on here? Has the form actually been sent by the person that it appears to be sent?
yeah,
So I think it's good to have this turned on internally and externally. In your larger organizations, you probably do get some of this malicious stuff going on.
hmm
It's not like a 50-person organization where everyone knows everyone.
hmm
Yeah. But the detection happens at design time. So when you are creating that form, it's going to looks like a detect if that's the kind of question you should be asking,
hmm
and flag that. What do you need to do for change? Well, like Daniel said, it's a tick box. It's going to be on by default. It's probably good
hmm
practice. Don't know what reason you would have to turn it off unless it starts to give false positives and starts blocking genuine questions. Don't know
yeah,
what the recourse there is for getting things whitelisted. Don't know.
yeah, right. And so I think it's also two things. I think one is here, it's internal, right? So
Mm.
how does forms know if it's internal or not when you're creating the form?
Hmm. Enterprise in org forms. And exactly. I mean, you create a form, it sits in a space. You haven't sent it yet. Could be going external. Could be going internal.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a question for you. I don't know how they differentiate external and internal here. And the second is, I think you just need to, and I think it's good on Microsoft. Hey, we don't want this data, right?
Mm.
I've been asked, where does forms data live? When you fill out a form, where does that live? Exactly where does it live? Not
Yeah.
somewhere in the form service. Like where? Geography. Like give me an idea. And so the I think this is Microsoft, rightfully so. I would do this. Don't give me that data. I don't want to store that data. That would be silly of us to go, yeah, give us your passwords and your personal identifiable information. So I think good on
Mm.
them to do that.
Yep. Yep. Being the last message, wanted to click into just actually a short demo and discussion around a feature that Juan Gonzalez had written about for us regarding 365. You can find his article there at regarding365.com. Let's have a look at
Regarding 365.com. I'm just saying it over and over while you pull it up. Regarding 365.com.
He wrote about page templates, and I think this is a big deal. I
Mm-hmm.
don't recall seeing anything in the message center about that, but a lot of things come across our desk. Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
anything about page templates?
Um, yes.
You do.
In the message center, I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember. I don't remember where I've heard it because I've actually been using page templates for a while,
Yep.
via PNP.
Right.
But anyway,
Well, now
yes.
they become democratized and easier to use for us non-PNP simple folk. Yeah. So the example I've got, I've fired up a learning pathway site. Now that's the site you can use a web part and some ways to present playlists and support resources. And what better place to create a standard page for creating learning resources and churning them out. So when you are creating a new page, if I just step through that process, whatever that page looks like, you are going to get a new page, new page experience, if I can say it that way. And there are a few featured ones about what the page will look like. You'll get your preview over to the left-hand side. So your blank page, very nice. Right-hand side, thank you. It probably looks like left from this side of the world. Well, never mind. Visual, right? And they're just placeholders at this stage, or just basic text. But one that I had created it's saved whenever you create a template. It's saved on the site that you created on. It's not available in other site collections and places. But if we went through that,
and for this example, it's a good thing, right?
Yeah, because it's a learning resource one. So if I go through and create this page, then we do have an option at the end of it to say publish or save as a template. If I dropped in a bit more information. But going back to our new page, come on. Oh, we could do it from here, I guess. Things are running a bit slowly here, people, sorry. That new page dialogue, you can go through to where you've stored your templates for this site. Just down here when it appears, it'll be if you view the page templates folder.
Yep.
So this is where we can go in and adjust those templates if need be. You'll see them listed just like a regular pages library. Yeah, we won't sit there and wait for that. You'll see it. It'll appear. There we go. Learning resources page. So you can go back and change it if you need to. So yes, I did create it 47 minutes ago, just before the show. I thought let's bang something together and see what that looks like. What does a template look like? You will have template details. You can edit that page, and in this case, I look as base information for a learning resource in a learning pathway site. You will need some introductory text. Probably a placeholder for that web part. I like to use the sidebar for displaying things like a conversation from a Yammer group to have some conversations around the content or the related stream.
Are you using
videos.
the vertical section?
No, I'm not yet. I've yet to try that. Have you?
Yeah, I've used it. We talked about it on the show. It's now rolled out to my tenant, targeted release tenant.
Okay.
And I noticed that, I guess, a week ago, and it looks really cool.
I wonder if it's in here. And
so
it's just a new section.
Yep. So you just click that, and it'll pop up as one of the options if it is there for you. And you are moving a little slow this morning. Not the site is. But there it is right there, bottom. Vertical section. Yep. So that just puts it over on the right. You don't have a choice of left, but there's a vertical section. And some people have, wait a minute, why is this any different than just using everything in a... Well, sidebar. If you break it up in sections, though, it continues down the whole page.
Yeah.
So, if you are using sections to break things up, this one will continue going all the way down and is not, is on the right side of that. Vertical sections. Sorry to derail your talk, but
that's all right. That's all right. That's important though, because if you want that consistency going down the side, and I know there was a conversation we had somewhere in the community too, where it might be a good idea to have a floating section. Oh, that's right. It was with Tracy Vanderscafe, and we were talking about she was going over not bookmarks, page anchors. And using a table of contents over on this side here, I think it was in response to Susan Hanley's mention. And that table of contents would be quite cool to float along the side, no matter where you are rolling down the page. A bit like docs.com. Docs.microsoft.com.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm sure you can do some stuff right now with that. I'm sure you could do some... Because I know there are other vendors that are doing things the right way. To provide floating information. So I'm sure you could do that. It would be great to be out of the box, I think, but in this case, having you might be able to do it. Well, anyway, sorry, we're getting kind of deeper. But I was just wondering, you could put code in there, right? You can put a script web part in there. So
Probably.
I don't know. Anyway,
Well, that's us for today. Let me just fix Daniel's lower third while we're at it. Buddy, you brought it up, mate. You brought it up.
Oh man, I'm a troublemaker. I know.
Glenn, there you go. You're special. No, you are special. You are. Tell him that he's special. Chat room. I know you're going to respond to this 30 seconds later, but I want to see it. Daniel is special.
No, I don't. Great.
Oh,
yes.
It didn't save.
Well,
Look,
see?
I'm sorry, but OBS is against you.
Yeah.
I'll fix it later. Anyway, that was us. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks to everyone who attended via the chat room, those who are quiet, those who are watching later, and those who have been watching via LinkedIn as I pushed it out to my profile. I have applied to have the LinkedIn Live attached to the Regarding 365 organizational page in LinkedIn. Let's fingers crossed we might hear back from them in a couple of weeks. There you go. You're special, Daniel. Let's finish on that.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.